I just want to start this video by saying that all profits made from this video will be donated towards flood relief that's currently happening, the flood disaster on the east coast of Australia. YouTube videos make money off ads. If you skip the ads, then it doesn't count. You do need to let them play through. I have added a couple of extra ads in this video, so if you just let them play through, then every little bit will be passed on towards helping with the flood relief. I'll explain more at the end of this video how it's impacted our local area and some footage I've got over the last few days. But for now, we'll start the main video. We're back with another backyard video talking segment, video, whatever you want to call it. Got a couple different topics to cover in this one. Before we jump into the Q&A and a couple of other things, I'm going to tell a story that I've been meaning to tell for probably 6 months now. I keep thinking, oh, I need to tell this story in a video. I did tell it on social media ages ago. It's just a really cool story that brings in a bit of our family history and camping and where it all started. My camping and 4-wheel driving days started back when I was a kid with my dad, Gary, who you always see in the videos. We would do a lot of weekend trips away and a lot of bigger trips as well in school holidays. We'd go for, 2-3 weeks at a time. We did a lot of trips out west, out to Burren Junction and Weewar area. Then we did a couple of big snowy mountain trips as well. We never had a super crazy 4-wheel drive or anything. It was just Dad's Holden Rodeo work ute, but it was enough to get us out there camping and adventuring and seeing Australia. One of the stories that always stuck out from those trips, well, I guess it stuck out because for some reason Dad just absolutely loved this story and told it time and time again. I'd heard it probably 100 times since it happened, but it was on the way back from one of our big snowy mountains trips. We were coming in the back way of Sydney in through Dun Swamp out the back of Lithgow there in the Woolamai National Park, and we're going to go through the Hunter Main Trail. This is 25 years ago now. We hadn't got far up it and there was just this absolutely monster tree across the track, and I don't think we had a chainsaw or anything. There was no way we were clearing it. We thought, well, that's it, we're not getting through that track. We headed back to Dun Swamp where we camped for the night. When we were there camping, we met these two blokes called Luke and Dutchy from Blaney. They were off on their own trip in this Land Cruiser, and we'd told them what had happened, and they said, oh, no worries, we'll come with you the next morning. We'll clear it off. And Dad had said, oh, what, you got chainsaws? And they said, no, we just got a couple of axes, we'll sort it out for you. We camped with them that night, and the next morning we headed up along that Hunter Main Trail, and Luke and Dutchy pulled out their axes and spent probably 45 minutes to an hour and just cleared this monster tree off the track. And then we spent the day with them. We had to clear a couple other obstacles on that track, and there was a bit of 4-wheel driving. We spent the day making our way through that Hunter Main Trail with them, and we came out over the other side. It's over near Scone or something, but obviously it was very little. I was only 5 or 6. I remember bits of it, but not very well at all. Dad always remembers it as one of his greatest days ever. 4-wheel driving, exploring Australia, just the fact that we met these two people and cleared that track and got out the other end, and it was just always an awesome experience for him. Every time he's talking about our camping past and history, that story always seems to manage to come up somehow. Fast forward to last year when I was obviously doing the YouTube 4-wheel driving and camping videos, and they were getting a little bit bigger, and Luke from Drifter reached out and asked if I'd be interested in using some of his gear and doing a bit of work together. And we started to get to know each other quite well through the back and forth of organising all those bits and pieces. Now, I don't think Dad had actually met him yet. I think it was only me who'd met Luke and Kaido and all that a couple of times. But Luke was coming through the area one night and he wanted to come chat about a few things, so we invited him over for dinner, and Dad said, oh, I'll cook Luke some fresh fish for dinner. He'd caught some fish down on the rocks that morning. After dinner, we were sitting around having a chat, and of course Dad got to talking about our old 4-wheel driving camping trips, and of course one of the first stories to come up was the time we met Luke and Dutchy from Blaney on this 4-wheel drive trip and this epic day we've had with them. Dad started telling the story about Luke and Dutchy to Luke, but at this point no one had really registered anything going on, and as Dad starts getting to the story, he starts saying, yeah, Luke and Dutchy from Blaney. Luke's sitting there and he's saying, hang on, Luke and Dutchy from Blaney? I'm Luke. My mate's Dutchy and we're from Blaney. And Dad and Luke are both looking at each other going, hang on, what's going on here? And it turns out that Luke from Drifter was the man from this story that Dad had told countless times over the last 25 years since it had happened. And they'd never spoke again since that. They'd went on their ways, they'd never ever spoken again. They'd always remembered that story and what happened, and here they were sitting in the lounge room together in the same house, and Dad had told the story of Luke and Dutchie to Luke himself, and Dad was just, they were just blown away. They got up and had a hug, and it just, what is going on? Neither of them they could believe it. Dad was nearly in tears. He was that excited. So it turns out, all those years ago, we'd actually been on a 4-wheel driving and camping adventure together and met and experienced those things, and then here we caught up again for the first time 25 years later.
Oh my Lord, he's gone down. He might never make it now. Oh my Lord, he might drown. He might never make it out. Everyone's so gone, didn't always used to be that way.
We'll jump into some Q&A questions I put up on Instagram a few weeks ago. I just been a little bit slack getting to them. First one is from Davo 4-wheel drive. With the recent events involving the nav, what's the backup plan if it all goes bad one day? I've found now that a lot of people have started labelling my car as a major letdown because of recent events, as it says here, but the recent events were the roof rack falling off, which had nothing to do with the actual car itself, then getting smashed by a hailstorm, which again, nothing to do with the car itself. Then we had the radiator issue, which was just the mechanic not putting it back on properly, so once again it wasn't really a Navara issue. And then we had the flat battery. There's been quite a few things, but none of them are really so much to do with the actual car itself causing problems. So at this stage I feel like I don't need a backup plan. I still really like this car and I'm still really happy with it and find it a very reliable car. And the amount of people that use that radiator hose video as an opportunity to 100% prove to me, therefore Navara's a crap, told ya. The amount of people that just commented on that video and messaging me saying how garbage my car is, I was like, it was a mechanic didn't put a radiator hose on properly. That seems to be the conclusion that a lot of people jump to. But yeah, anyways, I'm still really like my car. I'm very happy with it. I feel like I have had a few other minor things, like I had that front steering rack and that, but to me, any car has their problems. People that try and tell me that one brand is so much better than the other, I feel like there's a lot of people that really love Toyota Hiluxes. Now, I'm not saying they're bad, but I don't know how they can 100% look me in the face and say the Toyota Hilux is without a doubt the best car, better than any others, never has any problems. The Navara's are garbage. To be honest, they all have problems. They all have their issues. Anyways, that's how I see it all. I don't think one is particular way better than the other. Question number 2, how do you plan out your routes, tracks and advice on exploring areas unfamiliar to you? Being that I've done 4-wheel driving for sort of 5-6 years now, I've just slowly built my knowledge up over time. When I initially started it, I got a lot of info from other YouTubers, 4-wheel drive action, DVDs. I'd see they went to a spot, I'd be like, oh, look at all those cool tracks and camps they did too, and I'd just head out that place and start exploring myself. I'd read magazines, I'd go onto online and search up areas and search up tracks in the area, try and get down some notes. I'd ask around a bit, so some places I'd get help from other people. I'd pull out big maps of New South Wales and there's a national park. I'd go online, search it up, see what I can find. And then if I couldn't find much, I'd just head there and just start taking tracks and just start exploring. There's been a lot of dead ends. A lot of just going down tracks that lead to nothing and hours searching for nothing. I find it very hard. When I'm in an area and I see a track, I have to go down. I have to see what's down there. So I feel like I'm very keen on knowing what's down everything, and that's how I end up finding a lot of spots. What's your kid's favourite book? I notice he's always reading, very well educated. His favourite series has been Harry Potter. He absolutely loved Harry Potter. He hasn't got into anything else as much as he did that. Are you going to fit a front locker? Yes, I'd say I will eventually. We're awaiting on a rear locker for Dad's MUX, which is a Harrop E locker, but they're just on back order. It should be here after Easter. Once we get his in and sorted, then I'll probably potentially look at a front locker for mine, but I can't be twin locked and him be zero locked. That won't be real fair. What do you enjoy most about camping? For me, I'm not really a massive people person. I enjoy just sort of being out there with family, son, girlfriend, dad, whoever it be, and just enjoying the Aussie beach or bush or whatever it be, and having those sort of places to yourself. And I just love being outdoors. I love sitting by the fire. I love swimming in the creeks. I love adventuring. I love four-wheel driving. I'm just super happy out there doing that. It's just my thing that I enjoy. What big unplanned trips do you have planned? I'm not a massive trip planner. I got nothing planned at the moment. I do want to do a big winter trip, looking at, say, Simpson Desert, Cape York, or even down Victorian high country in the snow would be amazing. We'll work something out this Easter. We're going to the high country in a couple of weeks. We're very excited for that. Future plans for the Navara, or any plans for another build? No plans for another build. Depending on how the YouTube goes, it'd be really cool to get a little Suzuki or something and take that on some trips as a bit of a second vehicle, but obviously I can't afford that financially now, but bit of a future dream, I guess, have that second vehicle and something to really push on the tough tracks. I think a Suzuki would be something different and something a little more interesting. Other than that, I'd go an old Shoal or Land Cruiser and do that up for tough tracks. The future plans for the Navara, I was just still working on the canopy fit out at the moment. I've got my 85 litre Bushman fridge. We're just designing a fridge sit around part for that at the moment, a drawer to go next to it, getting a water tank in underneath, so just working on that back end down there. What was your first four-wheel drive and first camping setup? My first proper four-wheel drive was the black Nissan Navara I had before this one. Prior to that, it was a Hyundai iX35 all-wheel drive, which is not a four-wheel drive, but I just tried to take it four-wheel driving. Didn't work out too well for me, and realised that I did want to go four-wheel driving, trade that in, and then got the black Navara. And the camping setup to go with that was a King's double swag. That was what I first started camping in. What vehicle will you replace the Nav with when the time comes? I definitely reckon I'll get something different next time, because this is the second one I've had of these now. Maybe another Ute, D-Max or Hilux, try something different. I don't have any set particular vehicle I want. I'm not someone that has to stick with a brand. I'm not someone, I have to get a Nissan and every other brand is crap. I don't really have any particular loyalty to one brand, or I don't think one brand's better than the rest. Do you still enjoy doing what you do with all the added pressures and judgments? I still really enjoy doing this. I have noticed that as my following grows, you get exposed to more and more people. It does mean I feel that little bit of pressure of what I say and how I explain things, because people will just nitpick apart everything they possibly can of what you say. I get Demi to watch these videos before I post them now, make sure they're all good, what I said is all good. And then sometimes, depending on the video, I may get another person or two to watch it as well. Before I finish up the video, I'll quickly jump back to what I was talking about at the start there in regards to the floods. We are on the New South Wales mid-north coast. Our hometowns are Wauchope and Port Macquarie. We copped it quite bad in this area. We were just one of many areas across the east coast of Australia that's just been smashed recently. The Hastings River is the one that flows through this area, past the towns of Wauchope and Port Macquarie. It overflowed. I was speaking to Dad, and he always talks about the biggest flood he remembers in this area was in 1968, and it actually came up into the town of Wauchope. Now, this flood we had was bigger than that one by 2 meters. The river reached 12 meters on this flood. On the previous one back in 1968, it reached 10 meters. As far as I'm aware, it was the biggest flood ever recorded in this area. They're saying biggest flood in over 100 years. Quite a few people have messaged me, so I really appreciate that, and thanks to everyone that did send me a message asking if we were alright, if we needed anything. Thankfully, where our house is located, we were safe. We were far enough back away from the river. We just got blocked off where we live, so we couldn't get in and out of our home for about 4 days there. But it's nothing compared to what some others in the area experienced, and what happened to their homes, properties, farmers with livestock is just absolutely horrible. The worst of the flooding happened on last Friday through to Saturday. That's when it was really bad, on that Friday night. Once the water started to subside a little, they were able to get supplies over to people in our area. I know when I went down to the bridge there at one stage, SES was there boating supplies across the flooded road. They had some people there that needed medical supplies and things like that, and there was people down there with kayaks that were helping, which is really good to see. Everyone was getting involved, helping get supplies back and forth across the flooded areas to people in need. After that initial flooding did die down a little bit, I was fortunately able to get out of the area we were in. All the main roads were 2 to 4 meters underwater, but there is a back sort of hectic 4-wheel drive track up a mountain, which took quite a bit to get up in the wet. I did manage to get up and out that way, and I was able to head into the towns of Wauchope and Port Macquarie. I flew the drone and had a bit of a look around at what had happened, and some of the damage in the homes that were still just underwater. It was just absolutely crazy. I was speaking to one of the local SES volunteers in Port Macquarie, and he says it's just been absolute chaos trying to keep up with the calls for help. People that are starting to get their homes flooded, and they've spent a lot of time pulling countless things out of the Hastings River. He said they've pulled out shipping containers, even a plane, countless household items, lots of livestock, dozens and dozens of cows. Now that all the floodwaters are subsiding, the cleanup begins for so many people in this area and all over the place. I've been watching on the news in the western suburbs of Sydney have just copped it super bad as well. And what I've seen, which is absolutely horrible, is a lot of people are not going to get insurance for their property or their house as they are in flood susceptible areas. As I explained at the start of this video, all ad revenue will be donated towards helping people in need during this flood crisis. I'll just let it build up over the next week, which is when videos make the most of their money anyway. Calculate how much it is, then I can donate from there. Now, Demi did some research and found the best place that we can donate, a website called Give It. I'll put the link down for that below. It's been recommended by the New South Wales government. You can make a financial donation there, even at just a couple of dollars, or on the website you can donate or buy something specific to an area or person that is in need. They're asking that people not just send any and everything because they don't want to get inundated by donations in areas they don't need. But if you go onto the website, you can choose a spot, you can see what they're asking for, and then you can make a donation towards that or give that item that is in need. And then the other one that Demi found was the RSPCA website are asking for any old bedding, blankets, towels to help with the influx of animals they've had impacted by the flooding. Then we had the radiator issue, which wasn't. Then we had the radiator. Then we had the radiator.
You said from.
Too many times.
You said from.
Oh, did
once, but it was like too far gone, so I didn't want to like stop you in your momentum.
From.
From.
I keep saying frong. I don't know why I say that, but everyone paid me out about that last video. I say frong instead of from. Obviously, I can't speak properly.